Food is the absolute foundation to healing endometriosis and preventing those lesions from returning. This video isn't just about what foods to eat, it's actually about how we can get these beautiful, nourishing foods into our bodies and give you some practical ways to do that, because I know when it comes to the how, that's often the hardest part. So let's get into it. I'm Becky Jane, I'm a clinical nutritionist and I bring out videos mostly on major women's health topics like endometriosis. Today I'm specifically focusing on food choices, food habits around endometriosis. I previously brought out a video on top natural healing supplements we can be taking for endometriosis that actually work, and I got a huge positive response from that video. I had lots of people asking for more on endometriosis, and so I really wanted to focus in and narrow down just on food today and leave supplements aside, because it really is the backbone to down-regulating inflammation depending on what we eat. I have worked with women both professionally in clinic and seen friends battle this horrible diagnosis, and I have seen just how much it impacts a woman's day-to-day life, both physically, mentally, emotionally. It takes a huge toll, and especially when it comes to that time of the month, gosh, they can be bedridden, they can be shoving down the painkillers. It can be so horrible for so many women. Food can make a huge difference to this, and that's why I'm talking about it today. So here's my advice. First off, get in the vegetables. I'm not going to tell you eat them raw, cook them, do certain things with them. Just get them into your diet however you can. I know some people focus so much on sauteing spinach loses all this vitamin C, or freezing and pre-cutting loses these other nutrients, and really it doesn't matter. Just get the vegetables in however you can. A super easy way to get your vegetables in is just to freeze some zucchini and cauliflower, or any neutral tasting vegetables, but those ones work really well, with some berries, and throw them into your smoothies. Maybe add some almond milk and a plant-based protein powder, or some almond butter for some protein, and blitz it, and there is a glass full of nutrient-rich vegetables. The fibre in veggies not only helps keep you regular and going to the bathroom, but it also helps bind to excess estrogen. The fibre binds it up and it helps transport it out of the body, which is so important because we don't need excess estrogen roaming around the body when it comes to endometriosis. The next key to transforming your dietary choices is to choose wholesome grains. You need to make sure they are, 1, gluten-free, and 2, just nutrient-rich. So some great ones are quinoa, buckwheat, amaranth, millet. And if you can't source some wholesome quality gluten-free bread from your health food store, then at the absolute least, make sure you're choosing an organic sourdough loaf and only having like 1 piece a day, not having bread breakfast, lunch and dinner, and really opting for like buckwheat pastas, quinoa pastas, at the very least like a brown rice pasta should be available in most supermarkets. There's a lot of research around how gluten-free benefits IBS sufferers, which stands for irritable bowel syndrome, and then research also shows us that there is a huge link between IBS and endometriosis. And often endometriosis sufferers will have some kind of leaky gut, IBS picture going on in the background. The gut is so pivotal to our overall health. I have a switch and ditch PDF download on my website, which you can go and check out for some really easy substitutions that you can start incorporating. There's some gluten-free substitutions, some dairy-free substitutions, which I'll touch on soon as well. It just gives you some ideas of what to start looking for. So I know there is some confusion around fruit sometimes, which brings me to my next point. I don't think fruit is evil one bit. We are to enjoy fruit in moderation. It's got great fiber in it, amazing antioxidants, phytochemicals, which help all down-regulate inflammation, keep us healthy. When it comes to endometriosis, we obviously need to watch that we're not having excess amounts of sugar and driving inflammation further. So I always recommend berries. Berries are amazing. In the colder months, get your berries frozen. They're cheap, they're accessible, and you can just slightly warm them up on the stove, top them on your pancakes or through your plant-based yogurt. I often love to enjoy just a few frozen raspberries with some cinnamon and coconut yogurt in the evenings or at any time during the day that I'm finding the sugar cravings start to hit, and it is a true lifesaver. So my next big piece of advice to really step up our antioxidant profile and our anti-inflammatory profile in the diet is to incorporate herbs and spices. Simply by adding 1 to 2 teaspoons of some dried herbs to your cooking is already often doubling the antioxidant profile. Turmeric, ginger, thyme, basil, these are all great herbs and spices to use. A little tip here to get in just maximum herbs and spices in one big hit is a homemade butter chicken recipe. It uses, I don't know, like 6 to 8 teaspoons of a different variety of herbs and spices in there, and you can just, it is so delicious. It is one of my favorite ways to utilize herbs and spices. If I can find the recipe I use, I kind of wing it now, but if I can find a good one, I'll link it below. And it's also incredibly comforting and delicious on those colder days. The next key to transforming your endometriosis diet is ensuring adequate protein. And so I don't mean necessarily going full on like keto or like just hectic protein rich diet. I just mean getting adequate amounts because many women are protein deficient. Keep in mind, research actually shows us that a predominantly vegetarian diet is actually really helpful in endometriosis because of the anti-inflammatory profile of a vegetarian diet. But I think women can get confused between this and just going full on maybe, I mean, don't get me wrong, heaps of veggies all the way, but I think women can start to neglect adequate protein with that. And so I think if you eat meat, I think a very balanced approach is to go, 1 day a week with red meat, 2 to 3 times, incorporating a vegetarian dish, and then the other 2 to 3 times incorporating white meats, quality fish if you have access to it. Super hard these days to find quality sourced fish, but if you know a guy, go for it. So soaking your legumes and your beans in a bit of hot water with a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar is really important to make sure that the anti-nutrients in there, the chemicals which can get in the way of absorbing certain nutrients, are taken care of. And so it ensures proper digestion and proper extraction of nutrients. The soaking is especially important if you are vegetarian or vegan, just to ensure you're getting maximum nutrition when you are having those protein sources. Getting your adequate protein is also really important to consider when it comes to your snacks during the day. So they're actually great opportunities to top up your protein intake if perhaps you had more of a carbohydrate-based breakfast or not so much protein at lunch that day. Then snacking on some nuts or some hummus, some chia puddings, different things that offer us a bit more protein. Those protein-rich snacks are going to keep us going throughout the day. They're going to help curb sugar cravings and help us keep us fuller for longer until our next meal. So I probably should have mentioned this next point first because a lot of mainstream doctors are now recommending this because of the huge improvements we have seen in women's pain level, especially that time of the month, and that is involved around removing dairy from your diet. They don't fully know the reason exactly why it helps so much. There's different theories, one being we're not getting the hormones that are involved in milk, 2 being the processing of milk might be what's interfering. At the end of the day, we know it helps to remove some of that inflammation. I encourage you to really give it a good go, 3 to 6 months at the minimum. Try avoiding it and see what your cycles are like, see what the pain is like. You know your body the best. Easy dairy-free substitutes are, all your alternate nut milks, almond milk, macadamia milk, coconut yogurts or other plant-based yogurt, and you can make your own cashew cheeses. I've got a great recipe on my website for a dairy-free aioli using cashews, and just have fun, start making things from scratch in the home. So along with dairy-free is obviously processed sugar-free as well. It really disrupts our gut wall, it causes leaky gut, and it also takes a real toll on our mental health. It can really mess with our neurotransmitters and our hormones and really help add to this hormonal roller coaster that many women experience. And so if you're doing it for nothing else but feeling mentally and emotionally well, do it. You know, I always say fruit and, you know, some homemade bliss balls are a great just thing to always have on hand. They just hit the spot when you need a bit of sugar. You know, a fresh date from the fridge with a bit of almond butter in the middle. So good. Okay, moving on, we have got essential fatty acids and probiotics. Why have I lumped these together? Because they are the absolute powerhouse healing combo for endometriosis. So this combo is really anti-inflammatory. It's going to actually help repair damage that exists in the gut, whether that is leaky gut or dysbiosis, which is just an imbalance in your bacteria, your good and bad bacteria. It's not guaranteed to heal every single gut problem, but it is a foundation when it comes to healing your gut. And if you're going to control inflammation in the body, it starts with the gut. You can get your essential fatty acids from avocado, nuts, seeds, cold pressed olive oil, cold pressed avocado, macadamia oil. I would love to recommend wild caught fresh fish, but I just find it so hard to find quality fish these days. I don't recommend the fish that's just on your supermarket shelves. Honestly, the process of farming fish these days is disgusting. What they feed fish, how they farm them is really gross to be thinking that we then put that fish into our bodies. I don't think the benefits of it outweigh some of the risks that are there now with eating fish. In Australia, I'm having a hard time. If you know of a local Gold Coast great fish place, then hit me up because I'm still looking. Anyway, sorry for that tangent. For probiotics, I always recommend having a jar of probiotic rich sauerkraut or kimchi in your fridge that you can just grab and add easily to your, as like a side to your meal, so through salads, on the side of roast veggies, and use it on a daily, if not every second day basis, and get that accumulation of probiotics happening. You need to have a healthy bowel flora to keep inflammation at bay, but also to help in regulating that estrogen metabolism and processing in the body. Next, I've got a very specific food to start incorporating, and that is flax seeds. There is a little bit of controversy around whether we should or should not be having this food because of its potency when it comes to estrogen balance and estrogen metabolism in the liver. But that's why I recommend the freshly ground flaxseed opposed to the oil. If you're doing flaxseed oil, you don't necessarily know just how much you're getting because an oil is a concentrated source. Whereas if you are grinding out freshly flax seeds, keeping them in the fridge and just having 1 to 2 tablespoons a day or every couple of days, you're getting great fats there, but also in helping that liver to process the estrogen in your body. Great ways to use it is sprinkled over yogurt, through salads, and really make sure you grind them fresh and use within 1 to 3 days. And we're already on to the last point, which is your drinks. It is just as important as food. It's going in our mouth, it's making a difference. So obviously water. Like, you just have to get your water in it. Put frozen berries in there, lemon, whatever you gotta do. You need at least your 2 liters, or else your body's gonna, be dehydrated, especially if you're having tea and coffee. Which brings me to my next point, coffee. I want to be careful in how I say this because I know how important it is in people's daily ritual. Their morning routine is not complete without a cup of coffee. But it's time to face the hard facts, and that is if you are serious about controlling this inflammation, preventing relying on painkillers that time of the month, then coffee has to go. It just has to go. At the very least, you need to halve it or have a decaf. Coffee will greatly impact the pain when it comes to that time of the month. If it is an absolute no way, I cannot do that, then at least focus on the 3 to 5 days before your period, avoiding it. Just those 3 to 5 days of the month before you get your period. If that is all you can do, then do it, because even with that, you will notice a difference with the pain. And if you don't believe me, then just experiment on yourself. You take control of your health, try it for 1 to 3 cycles and see if it makes a difference. Caffeine is well known to increase inflammatory cytokines, and this increase in these chemicals cause endometrial cell proliferation and adhesion. So essentially it causes an increase in the growth of those endometrial cells and the adhesion of them to our uterine wall or the bowel, wherever it is in the body. If you are one of those ladies that suffers irritability, anxiety, depression, insomnia, or any kind of sleep troubles with your endometriosis, then ditching coffee is an absolute no-brainer as well. It's going to ensure that those symptoms are not only not made worse, but actually improved. And when I talk about coffee, sorry, I actually mean just caffeine in any form. So if you're drinking 5 black teas a day as well, that counts as well. I would say 1 cup of green tea a day is fine. It's lower caffeine and the antioxidant profile actually improves your health. But generally, caffeine, ditch it. There are great alternatives out there. You can incorporate, matcha lattes, turmeric lattes. You can do healthy hot chocolates. There's a tiny bit of caffeine in there, but that's fine. You can make it with pure cacao and honey and collagen and almond milk. It is so good. Just have fun choosing alternatives rather than depriving yourself. I hope that you got some great tips from this video, some great ideas on how to incorporate these foods. I didn't just want to tell you what to eat. I wanted to kind of show you some examples of how to get these foods in. So I hope it helped. Let me know in the comments what other ways you like to get these foods into your diet. If you have any other questions specifically in relation to endometriosis, let me know and I would love to touch on it. I've got a couple of ideas in the works. And other than that, make sure you subscribe if you love hearing these kind of women's health topics. I touch on endometriosis, PCOS, periods, PMS, all that good stuff that women do not talk enough about. So I'm going to be the one that talks about it. And also just hit that like button because it really supports my channel. But other than that, have a great day. I wish you all the best on your endometriosis healing journey. I am here for you in video format, so I will see you in the next video.